So, what do you do when your town is, well, let's be honest, a little bit ordinary? No huge famous landmarks, no world-renowned food. How in the world do you build a brand for a place that feels kind of featureless? Well, today we're going to dive into the absolutely brilliant insights of PR planner Tetsuya Saito, who's basically created a playbook for this exact problem. To get right to the heart of this, we've got to start with this fantastic metaphor that Saito loves to use. It comes from the famous producer Yashishi Akimoto. It's about a makunuchi bento, a classic Japanese lunchbox. Now, it has a little bit of everything in it, right? Some fish, some rice, a few different vegetables. It's fine, it's perfectly nice, but because it tries to be everything to everyone, nothing really stands out. There's no single punchy flavor that you remember later. And that right there is the exact problem so many towns and regions face. They are the makunochi bento of places. They've got a little of this, a little of that, but no defining, memorable story. So the big question is, how do you find what makes your town special when it seems like it's famous for, well, nothing? That's what we're going to figure out. All right, so to really understand the solution, we first need to get a handle on the problem itself. And honestly, there's no better case study than Tetsuya Saito's own home, Saitama Prefecture. It's a place that's often called a typical, kind of featureless bed town for people who work in Tokyo. So check this out. A few years ago, Saito helped put together a Saitama souvenir fair at a big train station. The thinking was pretty simple. A national conference was bringing 20,000 visitors into town. Perfect timing to sell some local stuff to outsiders, right? But the visitors didn't really buy much. The real shocker was who did. It was the locals, the people who lived in Saitama. The fair was a massive runaway hit with its own residents who were suddenly discovering their own region. They blew past all expectations, selling over 5 million yen worth of goods. That's about $35,000. And get this, for 2 years in a row, it even outsold the super popular Hokkaido food fairs that were held in the exact same spot. That's wild. And this led to this incredible aha moment. The locals were basically souvenir refugees in their own home. No one had ever bothered to package and present the cool things from their own region to them. This just proved that this huge, untapped well of pride and, commerce was sitting right there the whole time. You didn't even need outside tourists to find it. So, this big realization forced Saito to just completely tear up the old map of tourism. Instead of trying to fight it out on a super crowded field, he came up with a whole new way to look at it, a new framework to find a different and, frankly, more winnable game. He charts the whole landscape with this really simple matrix. Okay, so on one axis, you've got your experiences, from non-everyday special stuff to just, everyday life. And on the other axis, you've got access. How easy is it to get there? Now, most tourism marketing is obsessed with that top row, the big, shiny attractions. But Saito points us down to the bottom left. That's the real opportunity, the hidden battleground for most places, the accessible, everyday world. So the most important point is this. Stop trying to be Kyoto. Stop trying to be Paris. You are playing the wrong game. The goal isn't to become some world-class, non-everyday destination. The goal is to be an amazing, everyday place that people genuinely connect with and love to visit. You have to win in your own category. Okay, so if you're going to compete in this everyday category, how do you actually win? Let's get into the toolkit. Saito lays out this really powerful set of 3 core strategies. He calls it a 3 arrows strategy. It's a nod to that famous Japanese story. 1 arrow is easy to snap, but 3 arrows bundled together are incredibly strong. So let's break down these 3 arrows. First things first, you have to rediscover the treasures you already have. The problem is, when you're a local, you're just blind to what makes your home interesting. You walk past it every day. You have to learn to look at your own town with the fresh, curious eyes of a visitor, almost like you're an adventurer on a quest for hidden treasure. To explain this, Saito uses a cool concept from psychology called the Johari window. It basically says we all have blind spots, things that other people see in us that we can't see ourselves. He uses this beautiful analogy for it. Locals are the people of the earth. They're so grounded, they just don't notice things. But outsiders, They're the people of the wind. They blow through and suddenly that lone soda machine in the middle of a rice paddy looks poetic and unique. You have to bring in those outside perspectives to find the gems you never knew you had. All right, this second strategy is a little counterintuitive. It's called subtraction value. Instead of adding more and more stuff to an experience, you actually intentionally subtract something. You leave it incomplete. Now, why on earth would you do that? Because that empty space, that's an invitation for the visitor to step in and participate, to co-create the experience with you. Saito tells this really personal story to make the point. He says he painted a teacup on a school trip once, and the design, he admits, it's pretty clumsy, but he can never, ever throw it away. Why? Because he didn't just buy a teacup. He helped create it. His memory, his effort, his story is baked right into that object. And that creates a priceless value that you just can't buy. And the third arrow is all about combination. So what if you don't have an Eiffel Tower? No problem. You combine 3 smaller, more authentic things that pretty much every town has. Find a modest local landmark, a beloved local soul food, and some kind of unique local entertainment like a festival or an event. When you bundle these 3 things together, you create a unique identity that is literally impossible for any other town to copy. It's your special mix. Now, these strategies, they're not just clever marketing tactics. They all lead to a much deeper, more important goal. This isn't just about attracting tourists anymore. It's about building a real community of fans. This is about graduating from what Saito calls consumption tourism. You know the old model. It's a transaction. A visitor comes, they spend some money, and they leave. They become a data point you forget. The new model, though, is about building a relationship. It's about turning that one-time visitor into a fan, someone who comes back again and again, not just for the place, but for the people. And this gets us to this core idea of social capital. It was popularized by the sociologist Robert Putnam, and it's basically the idea that the network of relationships between people is an incredibly powerful asset. In a world where we're all feeling more isolated, where we're bowling alone, building these connections is absolutely vital. So the ultimate goal here is to create that social capital by turning visitors into what Saito calls friends and relatives of the region. And here is the fundamental shift in thinking, the big takeaway. So often, towns chase the economic goals first, but Saito argues that's completely backwards. You don't start with the economy. You start by building genuine human connections, by building a vibrant community. If you focus on creating those relationships, on building that social capital, the economic benefits, they'll follow. The real power of this whole framework is that anyone can use it. This isn't some high-minded theory just for big cities. It's an invitation for you to look at your own community, not for what it's missing, but for the hidden gems and the everyday magic it already has. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What are the 3 arrows, the landmark, the food, the entertainment, that could tell your town's unique, unforgettable story?